You know, when we first decided to do a deep dive on axolotls, I was like, oh yeah, those cute little guys with the frilly gills, right?
Definitely a fan favorite.
But then researching for this episode, I realized there's a lot more to them than meets the eye.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, they're fascinating on like a whole other level.
Yeah, they really capture the imagination.
Yeah,
I mean, right off the bat, you have to talk about the obvious, those gills.
right.
You see an axolot and you think, okay, salamander hanging out in the water.
Taking a dip.
Right, but it's not just a quick swim, it's their whole life story, right?
Wow.
Axolotls are what we call paedomorphic.
Paedomorphic.
It's a fancy way of saying they hold on to their juvenile traits even as adults.
So instead of outgrowing those gills like most amphibians, they just like keep on rocking them. Wow. So what's the science behind this whole forever young phenomenon?
So it's called neoteny.
Neoteny.
And it's more than just appearances.
Okay.
Imagine this. Most amphibians, they start in the water, go through metamorphosis, lose the gills, develop lungs, and head to land.
Right. Typical amphibian stuff.
The axolotl. They skip that whole land-dwelling phase. They reach sexual maturity, reproduce, all while living their best aquatic life.
So it's like if humans could reproduce as teenagers.
Precisely. But instead of teenage angst, imagine the evolutionary advantage of remaining in a safe, stable aquatic environment.
Okay.
No need to adapt to life on land.
That makes sense.
Right.
But there's got to be a trade-off somewhere, right? Like there's a reason most amphibians don't just chill in the water forever.
Exactly. It's about adaptation and vulnerability. Axolotls are perfectly suited to those lakes in Mexico City.
Right.
But if that environment changes, they're particularly vulnerable. All their eggs are in one basket, so to speak.
High risk, high reward, I guess.
Yeah.
But how does neoteny even work? Is it like a genetic on-off switch?
Hormones play a key role.
Okay.
Axolotls lack a specific hormone that triggers metamorphosis.
Interesting.
And what's fascinating is scientists have figured out how to artificially induce it.
Wait, seriously? They can like make an axolot go through metamorphosis on demand?
Yep.
What happens?
Yeah.
Do they like turn into super salamanders?
Not quite super salamanders, but they do transform. They lose the gills, develop lungs, even their body shape changes to adapt to land.
Whoa.
Yeah, it's pretty wild.
Yeah, it's almost sad in a way, like they're forced to grow up. But speaking of growing, or I guess regrowing, should I say,
Right.
let's talk about the axolotl's other claim to fame, their regenerative abilities.
Yeah, it's truly mind-blowing.
It really is.
We're not talking about just like a scraped knee here.
Right.
We're talking like regenerating entire limbs.
Yeah.
And it doesn't even stop there. Heart tissue, spinal cord, even parts of their brain can be fully regenerated.
Okay, now that's just showing off.
Yeah.
How is that even possible? Like, what is going on at a cellular level?
It all boils down to their cells having this like remarkable ability to revert back to a more primitive state.
Okay.
Imagine cells that can basically hit a reset button and become any type of cell needed to like repair the injury.
Oh, stem cells.
Exactly.
Okay, yeah, I knew I'd heard that term somewhere. They're like the master builders in our bodies, right?
Exactly. But the real marvel is how their bodies like control these cells, right?
Right.
Directing them to the injury site and guiding them on what to become.
So it's less about just having a ton of stem cells and more about how they use them.
Exactly.
That's incredible. I know this whole like regeneration thing has huge implications for like medical research and stuff.
Absolutely.
Are scientists any closer to, replicating this in humans?
It's definitely a hot topic in regenerative medicine. Imagine the possibilities.
Right.
Treating spinal cord injuries, repairing heart damage, even combating like neurodegenerative diseases
Yeah.
while we're not quite at the Wolverine stage yet.
Right.
Understanding how axolotls achieve this level of regeneration could revolutionize how we approach healing.
It's both mind-blowing and hopeful at the same time. But it makes you think, this creature that holds like so much potential for human advancement is itself facing some serious threats in the wild, right?
Unfortunately, you're right. Axolotls are critically endangered. It's a sad irony considering they were once so deeply ingrained in Mexican culture.
Really?
Oh, yeah.
I mean, they were named after Axolotl, an Aztec deity. Really?
Yeah.
A creature this incredible was considered a deity. Tell me more about that.
Yeah, so in Aztec mythology, Axolotl was a god of transformation, often depicted as a dog-like figure. He was associated with fire, lightning, even guidance for the dead in the underworld.
Wow, that's a powerful resume.
Right.
What was it at the axolotl that led the Aztecs to connect them with such a significant deity?
Well, it's probably their remarkable regenerative abilities and their connection to water, a vital life source. Zoolotl was also seen as like a bridge between the worlds of the living and the dead.
Okay, I can see the connection there.
Right.
So they went from being revered as gods to facing extinction.
Yeah.
How did things get so dire? It's a long way from like revered deity to on the brink of disappearing.
Yeah.
What happened?
Well, a few factors have kind of converged to create like a perfect storm for these creatures.
Okay.
One of the biggest is urbanization.
Okay.
The lakes where they once thrived are, now a fraction of their original size
Right.
due to pollution and just development around Mexico City.
So their habitat is shrinking, and on top of that, you mentioned invasive species earlier.
Exactly. Species like tilapia and carp. Introduced to the lakes, they've disrupted the ecosystem.
Yep.
They compete with axolotls for food, and in some cases even prey on their eggs and young.
Man,
It's a real challenge.
it's heartbreaking.
It is.
But I have to believe there's some good news, right? Like people are trying to help the axolotls, aren't they?
Absolutely.
Okay.
For the global effort to protect them.
Okay.
Conservationists are working to restore parts of their natural habitat and create like safe havens,
Right.
Breeding programs in captivity are also helping to maintain the axolotl population.
That's really good to hear. Feels like we've uncovered so much in this deep dive.
You really have.
We've gone from those like adorable smiling faces to complex science, ancient mythology, and the very real threat of extinction.
It really highlights how interconnected everything is, right?
It does.
The axolotl story kind of reminds us that as we uncover these mysteries of the natural world and even find ways to like potentially benefit from them,
Right.
we also have a responsibility to protect them.
Absolutely. Well said.
Yeah.
This was a great deep dive. I feel like every answer we find with axolotls just leads to more questions.
Always. Yeah.
But that's the beauty of a deep dive, isn't it? Leaves you wanting to learn even more.
For sure.
Well, thanks for joining me on this deep dive. Until next time.